What's going on, guys? Abrasius here. So today I will talk about the main thing that I'm thinking of when building a list. So there is one question that I ask myself about every unit that I have in the list, and the question is, can you make it cheaper? So as you might know from my lists, I tend to run as many units as possible, and I tend to ask myself this exact question about every unit. So there are a few examples of units I've seen in a list of people, maybe not the third one, but it's not uncommon to see something like 60 skeletons and 2 heroes that go inside, or 15 plague disciples. The third unit is actually kind of a joke, because I think this is the most expensive unit you can have in the game. This is like 1400 points. This is very, very expensive. And obviously what I want to say is that all of those units have their roles. They are not bad, I would say, but I think that if you make them cheaper, they will still be able to perform the same role in the list. They will essentially do the same for you in most of the battles, and you won't have as much points sink in them. Because if you stack many things in the unit, if you make something like a Death Star or just a very expensive unit, then it's much easier for your opponent to make a decision to just avoid the unit and ignore it and take care about everything else. If you make the unit just right, then your opponent will be in a lot of trouble, and it is very likely that he will overestimate or underestimate the risk connected to the unit that he is fighting. So if your opponent is facing 60 skeletons with 2 heroes inside, with 2 fighty vampire counts, then it is very likely that he will just ignore the unit, chaff it, get out of the threat range. But if there are around 30 skeletons with 1 hero inside, then the unit is only half the points. So you can have another unit like this on the battlefield, and then it's if your opponent decides to chaff the unit, you are still getting the chaff, but for the half points. If your opponent wants to fight it, then your unit that is paying for the fighting capabilities will get some fight done. So either way, you are on the well side. So for a great example, I think I have 2 Infernal Dwarfs lists for you from this year's ETC. So both look pretty standard. Both run the Overlord, the Mage, the BSB, and then there are 2 blocks of units and some shooting. So as you can see, I pointed out which models fill basically the same roles. I don't necessarily agree with all the choices made in both lists. Like, I think the Flaming Standards, the banner of Shamut are actually better than Flaming Standards. But in general, I think I would say that those units fill basically the same roles in both lists. I don't think that there is much difference between 22 and 27 Immortals and 30 or 38 Infernal Warriors. So what happens next? You have a Citadel Guards unit that costs even more than that costs very similarly to the Hobgoblins and fill basically the same role. Like, one of the Hobgoblins are Backstabbers, but I really don't think that they can run that well, since Leadership 7 you can't really run much outside your general bubble anyway, I would say. But maybe yeah. But I don't think that the impact on the battlefield is much significant from those Hobgoblin units, the Citadel Guards. Then there is some shooting and 2 units of Tauruk in the left-hand side list, and there is some shooting and 1 unit of Tauruk in the right-hand side list. But right-hand side list has also 5 Kadim Incarnates and an Infernal Engine. So while the shooting capabilities of both armies, I would say, are quite similar, you have Infernal Engine on the right side that can fight pretty well and that draws a lot of attention. It is additional unit that your opponent has to deal with. And then you have 5 Kadim incarnates, which are just a free unit on top of everything you already had. So what I would say on those lists, I very much more like the list on the right, because I think it has 2 more threats that the opponent has to deal with in every turn of the game. The left-hand side list lacks them. Only has two big units that can be dealt with much more easily than essentially 4 units. Also, the left-hand side list has one detail that I don't like, and I want to have Infernal Dwarf player pay attention to it, because it has only 1 unit. Because both of the units where the prophet is, where the prophet can be, are fighting units. So if you choose to run pyromancy, or even alchemy, then you will often find yourself in a position where you don't have that many great spells to cast, because if your unit is chaffed and you need to kill chaff, then half of your magic can be wasted. So I would strongly advise to pick at least 1 unit which is not designed to fight, so the prophet can be there if needed. So last of all, I would like to talk about the list, my personal list from ETC 2017, the list that I like the most, because compared to other armies, other Infernal Dwarfs, I felt like I had just 1 free unit, which was pretty essential in my games. So as you can see, I have only 19 Immortals. What was the point of the unit? Well, first of all, bodyguard for both Prophet and Vizier, so if needed, they could be a very decent chaff unit. War Banner makes them very good at combat resolution. I was very afraid of any kind of cowboys, so the design was that if needed, I can put both of my heroes in Immortals, take the challenge on the champion turn 1, and then take the challenge on any of my heroes turn 2, more likely the Vizier. And with 3 ranks, Banner, War Banner, and BSB, my opponent will maybe get 1 wound off on this BSB build. I am up on 5 on combat resolution. That's a lot, and I was really satisfied with that. So the other things that I would like to point out in the build, like Hobgoblins with bows, they were much better at the previous ETC because of how Volley Fire worked. Also, I have a champion there, and the 21 models, just so that after he kills the champion, I still have 3 full ranks. There are 11 Kadim incarnates total in the list. I think more couldn't fit with the Rocket Battery, Bound Demon. The incarnates were really nice because with no frenzy at this point, they could just run around the battlefield on the flanks. Occasionally having to pass march checks, but with fly it was not really that important if I failed them, and getting the charges off were often very easy. So the other thing that I would like to point out is what kind of chaff I have. Like, apart from the fact that every unit in my army is considerably cheap, and even Kadim incarnates can be chaff here. I have 2 main design for the chaff units, and this is the Hobgoblin Wolf Riders, which, as I've talked about in the chaff video, are very light chaff, just a chaff unit. And then I have Tauruks with shields. They also fill the role of scoring, but they also have a decent role as chaff. So, as I like to have in my lists, I had 1 unit specifically designed to be chaff, so Hobgoblin Wolf Riders, and 1 other unit that was designed to have a multi-role, so the Tauruks. Other than that, the Bound Demon was a very interesting piece of the list. to surprise of many, the Bound Demon was not really a shooting weapon. I basically went into combat in most of my games, since for 340 points it was a very good fighting piece. Toughness 6, 5 up ward save, 4 up armor save, decent amount of attacks, and Thunderstomp made it a really good thing. So I think this list is a very good showcase of making the units as cheap as possible so they still fill their role. I could have gone with things like 30 Immortals, or bigger units of Citadel Guards, or bigger units of Hobgoblins, but I would rather spread my threats around and have my opponent go for my points on the whole table. With smaller units, if I lose them, this is not much of a loss really, because 540 points is super expendable, and chaffing my opponent and dealing with Death Stars, especially with this kind of list, is pretty easy, because you can double flee most of the things, and even if you don't, you can chaff and lose at most 310 points for the Citadel Guard Flintlock with Flintlock access. Okay, so that's the video. Thank you guys for watching and hope you enjoyed it.